successfully. Lorna, Anne, are you there?
Yes,
yeah,
we're ready.
Yeah, we're here.
Brilliant. Hi, lovely to see you. So without further ado, I shall hand over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, we go to the next slide. Right. Hello, I'm Lorna Smith. I'm one of the assistant liaisons at Newcastle University. I primarily look after social sciences, so that includes business, architecture, geography, politics, and sociology.
And I'm Anne, so I do the same job as Lorna, and I work with her in the social sciences, but I also cover a bit of arts as well. So law mainly at the moment, and education, communication, and language sciences. And today we're going to really talk to you about our Your Skills programme that we've developed over the last year, which is kind of an open programme for study skills. And if we could have the next slide, please. Okay, so just a bit of history about what we've done in terms of standalone sessions at Newcastle University. And by standalone sessions, I mean ones that aren't embedded into a programme or a module. So pre-COVID, we had really mixed success with these kind of sessions. Our Writing Development Centre were the most successful of all of us. So they had kind of a central programme which ran over 10 years. And some of the main sessions they had included kind of a Write Here, Write Now, which was all about those students or academics who really struggled to write and had writer's block, and it kind of a safe space to start writing. And then also Feedback Friday, which was kind of taking assessments, feedback from academics, looking at it and working with it with the team as well. As a liaison team and special collections team, we did offer workshops and drop-ins, but to be honest, they weren't hugely well received, very mixed. So we kind of did it on an ad hoc basis. So we never kind of gave any kind of, definite kind of planning to a longer drawn out kind of program in it as well. So what changed during COVID? Well, like all of us, we went online, didn't we? And the Writing Development Centre actually had some success in doing this. This really encouraged us as a liaison team. We also were part of a wider university initiative. So we obviously didn't know as a university sometimes when students would be arriving, would we go into another national lockdown, another local lockdown? So the university board decided to have these buffer weeks, which were built in over 3 semesters, for students either catch up on what they've missed or just allow for some more teaching to happen if necessary. But also these were to be enrichment activity weeks. So the schools and the faculties were encouraged to create some events and some programmes, and it gave us the opportunity to do some programmes and some skills sessions within that as well. We also had the joy of welcoming some new colleagues, some academic skills advisors during COVID, and they didn't have the context that we had, and we thought would be a great opportunity to work and collaborate with them and do some kind of standalone skill sessions. And we also started trialling something called LibCal. It's a SpringShare product. We have some of their other products, but we've never really used this kind of scheduling software before, so we decided to give it a go. And we found it was really flexible, very convenient. It would automate bookings as well. You could self-enroll. Communications were all automated, so students would get notifications after a session. There was lots of different calendar views that we found helpful, and it can be embedded onto lots of different platforms as well. So overall, we had a really good experience using that. So to sum up, in COVID, we made some more tentative steps to doing kind of some more kind of mini standalone programs, which led us into kind of thinking about, should we do a longer, wider program? So we go to the next slide and Lorna will talk to us about that.
So we took what we learned over the craziness of the pandemic. And when it came to the beginning of this academic year, so September last year, we decided to throw ourselves into a full year-long program to see how it goes. The project group was formed at the beginning to make sure that it was planned. So this was a collaborative team using members from all across our different teaching teams across academic skills, special collections and archives, ourselves, but also our medical team as well. We needed to think about how this new program would be shaped, who was to be involved, what format we would use, what the scope was going to be, what we would teach, what we wouldn't teach, how it was going to be marketed, and how we were going to evaluate the program, which was really important for us. We started planning at the beginning of semester 1 with learnings, what we had learned, as I said, because we are so busy with teaching in semester one, this had to be done very carefully to make sure that each of the teams, so we had to make sure we were mindful in our capacity and not to go crazy. So we knew that we were going to be busy. So what we decided to do was just build on what the sessions we'd already done during the pandemic, or sessions that we knew we had lots of material for, such as, how to reference. We knew we had, tons of materials, slides, lesson plans, etc. So we were trying not to, reinvent wheels, trying to make life harder for ourselves during a crazy busy period of time as it was. So we did have to create some new sessions, because some of the ones we did with the academic skills team, such, I think there was one that was planning your dissertation, new slides had to be created, new lesson plans had to be created, but it was still bread and butter material. It was still stuff that we had already done before. So it wasn't too hard. Yes, so lots of different responsibilities in semester one. We had great ambitions. I think, it was quite exciting. It was something new. We wanted to, make it all singing and dancing, but we had to make sure we sort of restrained ourselves to make sure we weren't, pushed too hard. But we wanted to make sure that the program was varied, but it was engaging, but also just really useful for the students. So we were therefore looking at quality rather than quantity. We didn't want to have just this massive program for the sake of having a huge program. So yes, we had to restrain ourselves. If we go to the next slide.
Yeah, just to follow up what Lorna was saying there, this is just a really brief overview of it. So the aim of the programme was to look particularly at academic and library skills sessions. We've always had a history of doing really good embedded sessions into modules, but these were going to be on this external programme. So any student for any level and any ability could attend them. And we've had some mixed feedback about that. We did do some specifically for PGT, PGR. But on the whole, we kept them open to everyone, and we were worried that undergraduates wouldn't come because they would be a bit intimidated by postgraduates being there, but our feedback later, that wasn't necessarily the case, so that was encouraging. And I think the key to the programme has been what Lorna's already said, this multiple teaching team. So we'd always, wherever possible, have 2 members of staff teaching on a session, but we would be from different teams. So I might be myself teaching with an academic skills advisor, or an academic skills advisor teaching with, special collections and archives, or whatever it would be. And we also made sure that we were linked up to other professional services across the university. So we've been doing a few sessions with student wellbeing, and we're currently in the process of kind of sorting out some sessions with career service as well. So that multi-team, multi-level approach, just to really enrich the experience for the student as well. I've talked a bit already about LibCal, so I won't go over those. You can read them on the slides. But the idea of the sessions that would be quite short and sharp, accessible, you could do in your lunchtime or whenever they were fitted in. And we did do 2 types of sessions. Some of them are very much workshop based, incredibly interactive, which means that they don't really record very well, just by the nature of them. And then we did some other sessions which were much more kind of, I suppose, information lecture-y type sessions, which were interactive but not at the scale of the workshop. We've also then decided to gather all of those slides and some of the sessions that were recorded into one kind of SharePoint page, which the students could then access after the session, and navigate and find things that they may not have been able to attend as well. Next slide, please. So this is just a real small taster of some of the things we've done, just to give you a flavour of some of the types of sessions we've done. So you can see that some very kind of specific sessions, so how to find and use audio visual materials, and then some things like business information. There's also some very time-specific sessions as well. So you can see that start semester 1, we had the step-up sessions for stepping up to the next academic year or the next level of programme. And we did a Your First Assignment session, kind of timed around kind of mid-October, beginning of November. And there's also some very broad sessions there, such as time management and managing information overload and planning your dissertation, as Lorna's already mentioned. So a real mix of different types of sessions we've covered. Next slide, please.
So we kind of got well, you could say we got a bit cocky. We got a bit excited about our Your Skills session. We kind of thought, oh, you know, if we build it, they will come. We did some basic, you know, so our usual social media marketing. We would promote it on our student staff committee newsletters that we would send out to academics and students, you know, to sort of spread the word. And semester one last year was a bit disappointing. We had either 0 or single figure signups. Sometimes I would be sitting there just with one student, just having a chat. Some of the sessions we had to cancel because we got no signups. So we did get a bit despondent at the beginning of the year, this academic year. And, you know, and it did cross my mind, oh, maybe we've made a big mistake here. Maybe we, you know, and it had like, you know, this felt familiar because going back to Anne's history bit, you know, we used to do these ad hoc sessions and nobody, you know, it never caught on, nobody came, and, you know, we used to give up. But I was absolutely determined that we were going to carry on. And if we go to the next slide. So in the new year, so it was like January, February time, there was myself and Ryan and Louise, we were all part of the same team. We all decided to sort of grab it by the horns, and we did a bit of guerrilla marketing and really, you know, just went for it. So we created a whiteboard. We put it by the front door of the Philip Robinson Library, which is our main library. We printed off some leaflets rather than going through the whole rigmarole of filling in and requesting money for leaflets. We just printed them off on our printer in our office. What worked really well was in putting Canvas announcements. So Canvas is our virtual learning environment. All the modules that either we owned, or so it was library ones, or modules that we actually taught in, that we were embedded, we would do announcements, sort of just promoting it, saying, these are the upcoming sessions, book here, with URLs to every single session. And that was just the best thing that we could have done, because our numbers went flying up. It was kind of fun because by the end of the day, we just kept, every time we refreshed it, the numbers kept going up. By the end of the week, it was like, oh my God, we've got like 50 signups on one session. It went a bit crazy, but it was kind of exciting as this kind of stuff can be. So, I mean, obviously we had high numbers, but quite often you'd only get, so say if you had 50 signups, you'd maybe get 15 students.
They always go out.
Could you mute yourself? So we'd have maybe 15 students turn up, but that's completely normal. If you've ever done any similar sessions, that's completely normal. We went a bit crazy with our leaflets, and Ryan went crazy putting leaflets in every single toilet cubicle in the whole library. That was hilarious. But we think it all worked. I reckon it was a combination of all these things that are on this slide that worked. I put it on the Yammer, which is for internal, so staff, and on the company-wide one, and that went crazy as well. And I had all sorts of comments from academics, and student comms got in touch with me, the university student comms, and they were sharing it on notice boards and newsletters. So the word is getting out, and I think we're going to build on this and just keep it going. But it requires quite constant, messages. And you sort of, once students see it, is it 3 times? I think is the magic number. I think it eventually goes in. Right, next slide.
Okay, so just a bit of summary about how it's gone so far. So as Lorna's already said, we had quite a huge amount of registrations. We're quite shocked how many people were signing up for things, slightly panicked at some points as well, thinking, good grief, we've got 50 EndNote users going to be turning up to a session online. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, not all those resulted in attendees, but considering what we went from before, has really helped. I think we're about 29-30% actually converted into turn-ups. And the sessions that we've been, have been well attended, generally between 10 and 20 students or even more. Obviously, we've had some zeros as well, and I'll talk to about those in a minute. But yeah, it's been really quite encouraging, really, from where we've been to in the past. And as you can see from that kind of lovely pie chart, mostly PGT students, but closely followed by undergraduate students registering as well, and then PGRs as well. Next slide, please. So this is just a quick overview of some of our most popular sessions and least popular sessions. Unsurprisingly, some of the very generic ones have been the most popular. So referencing, EndNote, we've had to put more sessions on. We've had major numbers on there. What did surprise us was the managing information overload. We created a new toolkit, which is all this whizzy interactive toolkit about how you manage your overloads. And that surprisingly had 16 or 17 people on. So we were pleasantly surprised at that. Not so popular, again, unsurprising really, more niche sessions. So business information and audiovisual resources like had 1 or 2 people on. Chemical data got no takers. So that wasn't really a surprise to us. But the 2 that were a bit surprising was the last 2, the conflict in group work and making your voice heard in seminars. So these were sessions done with student wellbeing and were put on really in response to the perceived need that academics thought students had. So either the students don't have that need, or we did them at the wrong time in the day, wrong time of the year. We have repeated sessions. So I should say that some things that we have thought, needed to be repeated, we have repeated at set times to try and hit all the different dissertation hand-ins and all the things that happen across a university and programs as well. So there has been some repeat. But yeah, that's kind of a snapshot of what's been most attended and least attended. And if we go on to the next slide, please. And yeah, we've had some really positive feedback. So we've gathered feedback from the automated responses on LibCal. Again, really helpful feature. And yeah, we've been really encouraged by these. As Lorna said, as a team, when we weren't really sure if this was going to work, to be honest, as a team, we thought, well, what we do works. We embed into programs, we do really well, which I know other universities struggle with. So we're a bit skeptical about doing this open program, but it's, we've had some good feedback and it's really encouraged us to think about what we do next. And we'll be able to act on the feedback as well. So you can see there that a person really wanted something to be recorded. And from then on, we made sure that those sessions that were appropriate to be recorded were actually recorded. So next slide, please. We'll go on to the next steps.
So just picking up on the one thing about the sessions that didn't do really well, regarding the chemical, I can't remember what it is. Yeah, that one. I was speaking to our SAGE librarian, our science engineering librarian, and she was saying, well, actually, I think it's because we've embedded the material so well that they don't actually need this. So in a way, she took it as a positive. So next steps. We're going to do a full year review. So that's coming up. We're about to sort of finish our sessions sort of early July. So we're going to do a full year, look at numbers, look at what went well, what didn't go well, what we're going to do for next year, and do an advanced plan for the year next year. A big problem we had this year was we were planning it bit by bit. So I would do a couple of weeks, like sort of half a semester, and then I'd have to nag everyone to try and do the next half. And it was it was quite stressful trying to do it bit by bit. So now we've done a full year and we have a good idea of what sessions work and what don't work. So we're going to do a full year, hopefully. But it doesn't mean it's sort of rigid, set in stone. We can change things, we can repeat things, move things around if needs be. We're going to, we talked about sessions for PG, postgraduate students, but we don't really have anything aimed at PGRs. And maybe some more academic sessions aimed at academic staff. We've got a couple of staff sessions coming up. So it'll be interesting how they go because they haven't had a huge amount of take up. So yes, it's a real sort of, it's a fluid thing that just keeps changing. We're looking at maybe to do some sessions with careers, which will be interesting if that goes ahead, and see what the take up is for that. We're going to explore doing more face-to-face sessions. However, we've found that students really like that they're online. When you see the students, if you see their faces, quite often they're at home. So I think they like the fact. I think that's also why postgraduate students really like it, because their timetables, quite either full on, or they have to work, or they've got children, etc. So I think it works really well. But some face-to-face would be nice. Explore more avenues for promotion. I think we've kind of, done as much as we can, but we'll see if there's might be some hidden places we can still try and promote it a bit more. And exciting for me and for our team that we're going to have a single promotion page, because it's a bit sort of all over the place on our website at the moment. So we're going to have a nice home for your skills with sort of branded page with where they can go to book sessions and access the slides and access to recorded videos. So it's all going to be in one place, which will be quite exciting. Just another thing on using LibCal, what's been really good about using LibCal compared to what we normally did was just sort of record numbers. In LibCal, we can get that data out that tells us whether it's postgraduate students, undergrad students, what school they came from. So it's really been giving us much more richer data than previously. So that's a good point for using that. And that is us. If there's anybody has any questions, next slide.
Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you very much. Really interesting, isn't it, to hear how, I guess, students and staff, you know, the phenomenon of sitting and looking at Zoom or Teams or an online content has actually become quite attractive, hasn't it? But actually it could work in our advantage in that people might be more inclined to access something that's online rather than something that's face to face. So yeah, that's an interesting point. Now, there's a few, certainly one question here, and I love the comment. I know Anne's already replied to it about advertising book recommendations on the back of toilet doors, which I think is lovely. But actually, yeah, it's a great advertising space. You know, you see it, don't you? So, you know, you're reading what's on the door. So why not? It's a really important way of getting our message out there, along with multiple other ways as well. So I've got a question here from Jack saying, did you have feedback questions? Well, actually, I think this is two questions. So did you have feedback questions to find out where workshop bookers and attendees heard about the sessions to evaluate the success of your marketing?
No. Well, we have a feedback form, which nearly no one has filled in. I'm not sure how to improve that one. But no, I haven't asked them about marketing, which is quite an interesting one. Maybe I will add a question about that. We've tried to make the feedback form as short as possible, but we're getting no takers.
Yeah, okay, well, that's an interesting one, so perhaps food for thought. And also she said, have you asked, another thing you might not have done, have you asked attendees about the session titles? Maybe change the name or description of the group work and voice in seminar sessions. So do you think the name is putting people off?
It could be, and we've definitely changed things as we've gone along, and it's kind of a battle to make things, you know, the beauty of working across multiple teams is that multiple teams have multiple ways of phrasing things. And me and Lorna are very much on a mission of trying to make things succinct and very obvious and short.
Short and obvious. That you'll have seen, if I could give you like a little diagram of how the titles have changed just since September, it's quite impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And one more, which I forgot, which was before those other questions, but Susie's just very kindly summarised them, was how easy was it to set up LibCal?
It's easy, very, very easy. For the events, dead easy. You create a template, and once you've created that template, you know, that includes your reply email with the feedback link and all your sort of parameters that you want to set, and then anybody can go in and set up their own events. But as long as they use the template, it's dead easy.
Okay, thank you. Well, I make it just about 1:45. There's some really good discussions coming through on the chat. So I'm going to move on now. Thank you very much, Lorna and Anne. That was great to hear about.